and unfortunately for me, most of those lies are coming from one of my best friends.
I've known you for 20 years. I'm your friend.
On Monday Night Raw.
Just bring him to me.
Kevin Nash from behind with a sledgehammer.
Put him down.
Come now.
Come on, Nash. Stop thinking about it. Come on, Nash.
But I'm not worried about my neck. Kevin Nash broke my heart.
Triple H versus Kevin Nash, a bright spot from the Reign of Terror. Welcome back to our latest look at a piece of wrestling history, as we take a look at one of the better parts of Triple H's Reign of Terror in 2003. When looking back at this time, it's so easy to focus on the long-winded promos that seem to open up every other Raw. Also, the two most talked about feuds that he had during this time are with Booker T and Goldberg, but right in the middle of these was a fun feud against his real-life friend, Kevin Nash, and that's what we're looking at today. Be sure to embrace your inner Triple H and smash that subscribe button with a sledgehammer for more fun wrestling content. And if you could give the like button a hit too, that would be as helpful as a run-in from the Nature Boy. The gift of the big gold. Before we get to our main subject today, we have to take a look at how this all started. In 2002, Raw and SmackDown were separate shows and Raw needed a champion. It was said that Triple H did not want to be the Intercontinental Champion, so they brought out the big gold from WCW, and the World Heavyweight Championship was formed. The thing is, this title was just handed to Triple H. That did not sit very well with people, but you could argue it helped make Triple H an even bigger heel. He would lose the title quickly in the first ever Elimination Chamber match at the 2002 Survivor Series. Yet, he would win it back the following month from Shawn Michaels at the Armageddon pay-per-view. What are your thoughts on Triple H just being handed the title? Let us know in the comments section below. People like you do not win titles. Before we get to the run with Kevin Nash, we need to have a look at what went down before that. In February 2003, Triple H would form the Stable Evolution with Ric Flair, Randy Orton, and Batista, and the foursome would run riot on Raw all the way until 2004. The real talking point from the Reign of Terror is the feud that Triple H had with Booker T, which looking back now, the whole thing was in poor taste. There were some real racial undertones at play here with the whole "people like you do not win titles" thing that was said.
See, the fact is, Booker, somebody like you doesn't get to be a world champion. You see, people like you don't deserve it. That's reserved for people like me.
Booker T was the babyface in this feud, but the way it went down at WrestleMania 19 was very strange. All signs pointed to Booker T shutting up Triple H and winning the title he held 5 times in the WCW. Instead, we got a Triple H victory where he hit Booker T with a pedigree and then took forever to pin him. When people look back at this time in Triple H's career, this storyline often gets brought up.
I just wanted to perform and make you guys happy at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, you guys were not happy when I didn't win at WrestleMania 19, so I felt like I let you guys down.
Let us know your thoughts on the way this feud went down. Do you think this killed the momentum that Booker T had built up at the time? The return of Big Sexy. In 2002, the WWE brought back the NWO. It was a short-lived return as Hulk Hogan was soon turned face and the new NWO didn't last long at all. Kevin Nash would get injured and miss the second half of 2002. When he returned and tried to patch things up with his buddy Triple H. Of course, this didn't go down well and the two ended up falling out. But Kevin Nash wasn't going to take this lying down. The return of Kevin Nash is quite often overlooked during this time. He was actually very over with the crowd, and he was a legit threat to Triple H at the time. He did some of his best work here, but for some reason it never gets brought up when people talk about this time period. The spring of the clique. As we said, people tend to focus on the feud with Booker T and Goldberg when looking at the Reign of Terror. However, in the spring of 2003, Triple H would have a feud with Kevin Nash that would be the focal point of Raw for a few months, and it was actually a great deal of fun. The two would constantly clash on Raw, and this would lead to them having a match at Judgment Day 2003, which took place in May. This was a pretty short match, and it would ultimately end in disqualification due to interference. In June, Triple H and Kevin Nash would continue their feud. They'd continue to clash on Raw, but they also faced off twice on pay-per-view. The first time was the last ever UK pay-per-view, Insurrection, which took place on June 7, 2003 in Newcastle, England. Triple H with Ric Flair in his corner took on Kevin Nash with Shawn Michaels in his corner. This match was a street fight and is a bit of a hidden gem. Triple H and Kevin Nash had one hell of a brawl that would ultimately end with the Game keeping the title. On June 15th, Bad Blood would take place, and now, due to all the interference, Kevin Nash would get one last shot at the title. But this time, it would be in Hell in a Cell with Mick Foley as the referee. Again, this was a very fun match, but ultimately Triple H would walk out with the World Heavyweight Championship. The Forgotten Feud. As we have said many times, this whole run during the Reign of Terror seems to be forgotten about. However, Triple H and Kevin Nash had great chemistry together, and this was arguably the biggest highlight from this time period, but it very rarely gets talked about. It would have been great if they had had Kevin Nash win the title, even if it was just for 1 month, to break up this reign that seemed to last forever. Many people overlook just how Kevin Nash was during this time. Had he taken the title from Triple H, even for a short while, it could have made him an even bigger star. On the flip side of this, Kevin Nash was taking some time off after SummerSlam to film the Punisher movie. So, with that in mind, perhaps that's why the WWE was reluctant to make him champion during this time? We'd love to hear your thoughts on the Triple H vs Kevin Nash feud that took place during this time. Did you enjoy the matches they had? Do you think Nash should have won the title? And what are your thoughts in general about Triple H's Reign of Terror? Thanks for watching, and be sure to keep coming back if you want more wrestling-related content.